Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we are going to be discussing a comment that I got because it has a couple of elements to it in which I can dovetail into talking about the specific processes and protocols that we can use to create a better reality. So this is from Bundira 9653. Hello, Jacob. I want to ask you something. I've been thinking about living a financial free life, using imagination to implicate that I am living in a financial free situation. I've been affirming I'm rich. I've got no contradictions, such as where's my manifestation? I've decided I am rich and that being that ever since. The reason I'm doing this is to experience it internally. Fantastic. So let's start with that first part. When you are creating something, right, you have this ideation of when you are using metaphysics to create something that you're doing A to get B, right? And in a way that is true, right? But you want to understand that, like, it's an externalized process of creation. Okay, so when you look at creation, you can look at it as a game, right? You can look at this entire reality as a game, right? And you can also add onto that notion that you are doing things that you want to do because you want to experience them, right? Why do you want to be financially free? Well, you want to be financially free because right now, in this current moment, you have a constraining energy that makes you feel limited, which is also fear energy. So anytime that you have limitation and or a suppression of your natural self, that's a fear energy, okay? So we'll talk about this later in the comment. She asked about unconditional love, okay? Or he asked about unconditional love. Apologize, I can't tell from the picture. It's just an old picture. But what it is unconditional love is the polar opposite of fear, okay? So when you hold a space of unconditional love, you're essentially putting your core frequency at an antagonistic wavelength to fear. And then you understand that fear, false evidence appearing real, is not as powerful as unconditional love, which allows you to desync from all awareness points that have limitations within them, right? Okay, so let's keep continuing. I have total trust in the process because I have experienced and created small things. I'm going to do what is necessary to achieve financial freedom. I don't have fear, and I have been studying these works for so long. I have complete control over my thoughts and feelings. Perfect. Okay, so 2 points on that. I am going to do whatever is necessary to achieve financial freedom. When you are thinking fourth dimensionally, that's a misstep because you, through virtue of that thought, are not the identity that already has it now. If you already were financially free, you wouldn't need to do whatever you need to do to get it. So this is where the minutia and the niche type of thought processes come into play, because it really is sometimes very minutia based, right? It's little things like that that can hold you up for years, okay? When in doubt, self-concept it out. I saw another creator say that one time, okay? So what does that mean? When you feel like you got to do something or you got to be something, what is that an indicator of? You are not the version who has it, okay? To go back to what we were talking about earlier, when you are getting something, the reason you're doing that is because you want that experience, okay? So what happens with this reality, because you're dealing with two things, okay? You're dealing with two things that are what you could call a massive distortion, okay? So if you have base reality and then you have a template, which is a sub-game of reality, that's what you're dealing with. Those two things are a time delay and your fucking memories get wiped when you come into the game. It's a pretty big deal, right? Because why is that a big deal? Well, if you know that you can create things with your mind and your thoughts, right? And you're in a reality and you go, I want a laptop. And the laptop's right there. You go, cool, it works, right? And you're like, cool, I'm powerful. I'm free. I can do whatever I want. So let's address the time delay part. If you're at a reality and you don't know there's a time delay, you go, I want a laptop. There's no laptop. Oh my God, it doesn't work. And then you go a month and then Steve gives you a laptop. You go, oh my God, I was wanting this laptop. Oh my God, Steve brought me the laptop. If I want a laptop, I guess I have to go talk to Steve. Wrong. Your initial was heard, but because of this fucking time delay, you experienced it as an unfolding process, okay? So that's the fuckery you're dealing with here. You are dealing with that type of situation. You're also dealing with memory wipe, okay? So if you don't remember who you are before you came in the game, you heavily identify as whatever you've been programmed with, okay? And what that means is that your internal concept of any aspect of life, whether it be money, health, wealth, relationships, etc., is generally a byproduct of what those who raised you have installed into you, right? Money's hard. This is this. Or they didn't even say that. They just had massive amounts of fear around debt or money or whatever, okay? The reason that money is interesting is because it is replace the word money with fun coupons and you pretend you're in an arcade, right? And you're like, I want to go win this big prize, right? And you're like, I want the prize, I want the prize. It's like, okay, it's 1,000 fun coupons. You're like, oh shit, I guess we got to play a lot of games. This is going to be fun. We're going to play a ton of games. We're going to get this thing. We're going to go home and we're going to win, right? If you thought about money like that, then it would be a lot more enjoyable. But when you have programming in a reality where, first of all, you have no fucking memories when you come in, you have a time delay, so you doubt yourself when you command things, right? So your self-confidence and your self-esteem's low. You don't remember shit, so you get programmed by everybody and everything. It creates the perfect hellstorm for disempowerment, okay? So when you are essentially dealing with money, right, you're like, instead of thinking of it as, okay, well, let's just get all the fun coupons and whatever, you immediately have counter forces that have been installed in you from other people if you're having issues with this, right? There are people who don't have issues with this. This is just, I've had issues with this. Everybody that I know has had fears around this and stuff like that, so it's important to address. But let's go get the teddy bear with the fun coupons, okay? But I can't do that because in order to get 100 fun coupons, I have to trade 8 hours of my life doing something that I despise doing. So when I correlate the amount of fun coupons I need, and I correlate that with the amount of hours I have to work, because my framework, my perception of what it takes to earn money is a certain fixed ideation. I don't care who you are. You have an idea of what it takes to earn money based off of what you've seen, heard, and been told, okay? You have a value structure in your mind of what $1 million is. You have a value structure in your mind of what $100 is. In your subconscious, you have value associations with the time, effort, and energy it takes to create that from your personal, what you could call perspective truth, okay? So when you think, oh, let's go get the thing, you'll have a fear that pops up that goes, but think about how many hours that's going to cost you, or how much freedom you're going to have to give up, or how you're going to have to submit to somebody else and do what they want you to do. So you're going to lose freedom by doing this, right? So all of these different what you could call counter beliefs create resistance. And over time, that resistance starts to stress you out and degrades your system because you're essentially working against yourself, okay? So that's why you have to understand who you are. You're a soul inside a body. You're in a game where you forget all of your fucking memories. If you were to die right now and go to the other side, you'd be in what's called a more baseline reality, where you can think things and they come to you much in the way that a lucid dream does, okay? Think about it. Would you be frustrated about something not coming when you have commanded and or expected it if you weren't initially a being who could command and expect things and have them come to them, right? How would you ever have any context of that? You wouldn't be like, oh my God, I've been trying to do this forever and it's not coming to me. What the fuck? Like that comes from you knowing that that's your real self being able to do things with their fucking mind, right? And you innately know something's off about this place because that's not executing its function in the way that your soul knows that it can. Well, third aspect of this game, you're in a place that is entirely designed to be the antithesis of what you actually are, okay? That's a big thing because when you think about that, what do you do here? You age, you have limitations, you have all of these different constraints. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. So there's all of this confusion and whatever. You're in a place that is literally the exact opposite of what your soul experiences. And you may ask, why do you do that? Well, it's because when you go to the gym, if you put on a weight vest, right? And then you do your push-ups, when you take the weight vest off, you can do even more push-ups. Okay, so in the most meathead explanation, the reason you're here is because number one, you're a master fucking creator and you're playing the hardest shit ever. Imagine like playing Monopoly and being like, hey, before we play Monopoly, we're gonna wipe your memories of what Monopoly even is. And then we're gonna have a bunch of people who don't have that memory wipe play against you, and they also get the rule book. It's like, it's badass shit being a human. It's fucking metal is what it is. It's really hardcore shit. So give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back for just being a fucking badass soul in general, okay? Don't be a pussy, because you're not. It's literally, you literally have made the hardest decision by just being a fucking human being, okay? So everything else, don't even pay it any mind, right? Don't let it control you at all. Side note. So as you start to go through this process, right? And hopefully I didn't close out of this comment because I've got some good shit in here. I'll go back to this. So I put myself in a good place. I don't know whether I'm missing something or I'm doing something unconsciously that prevents it from coming to me. The version of you that has it wouldn't be aware of that. That's a big thing, okay? So when you go into manifestation, right, it's unseen to seen. You're dealing with this time delay bullshit. You don't have any fucking memories. So what you want to do, number one, is you want to go to straight up basics, okay? What are the fucking basics? Treat this like a video game. Treat it like a game that does not matter. Even though there are aspects that matter, right now, everybody's all stressed out. Just treat it like a game, okay? Here. What's my fucking deal? Okay. I am trying to do shit and I'm limited in all of my faculties. I want to go live in this house, but I don't have enough money. I want to be this healthy person, but I don't have this fucking enough money to get the steaks that I need. Okay. You're operating with second cause and you're building gods out of those things because your narrative complex defines the value assignment of everything. The assigning of meaning is the basis of your power. I watched a video that said that the other day, and that's absolute truth, okay? 2 kids, 1 alcoholic father. 1 kid, depressed homeless man. Why'd you become a depressed homeless man? How could I not? My father was an alcoholic. Other kid became a billionaire. How'd you become a billionaire? How could I not? My father was an alcoholic. I had to make something out of myself. Your value assignment of everything will shift you onto either a favorable lifeline or a non-favorable lifeline. So understanding yourself beyond the game of what you actually are is very important, because what are you? What type of being has its memory wiped and goes into a fucking game and gets lied to consciously of its own volition? Well, a master creator does that, because a master creator wants conflict, it wants contrast, it wants different things that will inspire it to create better things. So think about this. If you're an eternal being and you create all this shit and you have all power and you can do whatever you want, and you're like, hold on, let's up the ante here. Let's play some crazy shit, because I know that my soul's eternal and can't die, but what if I went into a thing that made it feel like I could, right? That's the type of shit that we're doing here, okay? So you have to understand the real you is very powerful. The real you has what it wants. The real you snaps its fingers, is able to do what it wants. But in the same way that if you played a game, there's a category of game that you can play called survival game. Okay? And survival game would be like you start with your dude or your girl character, and then you have to go and you have to chop down the trees, and you have to gather rocks, and you build your little house, and you stockpile food, right? What's the fun part of that game? The fun part of that game is playing the survival thing, right? The game is a survival game, right? You know, you're playing the game. Like, if my character dies on the screen, I'm not going to have a fucking issue. I'll just restart the game and play it again and get better at it, right? The caveat with this experience is that you have a core belief that if you die, your character and your soul are not going to be in existence. And that's a huge fucking lie, and it's a huge fucking issue when it comes to actively participating in life in an enjoyable way, right? Because the stakes are too high, right? The stakes are maddening. Like, if you think that you came from a fucking tadpole and had millions of years of evolution, and you got to this point, and if you don't do it just right, and also, even if you do it right, maybe there's a heaven, maybe there's not, you think you know, but you realize that everybody who told you that stuff really doesn't know, so you're kind of just winging it, right? That's a huge insecurity, okay? So most people walk around with that massive insecurity. It's a huge chink in your armor. Because if you're afraid all the time that if something happens to you and it's over, what do you try to do? Well, if you were in that survival game and that became your real life, like you're playing the survival game where you have to do all these things, what do? You go, fuck, man, I got to make this last as long as possible. Even once it's over, it's fucking done. I don't really like that, but I don't know what else to do. I got to get all this shit and just make this thing work. I got to make this last as long as possible. This is the most important thing, that I survive, right? And so when you get into that type of mindset, you're very easy to control, because you're looking for a way out, right? Because you're in a lie-based reality. You're in a reality that's not built on truth, right? So when you don't have that truth, you are essentially fucked, right? But what that does is that creates, situations of hyper stress that allow you to bring out different faculties in new and interesting ways. So there's an argument to be made for why it's done in the first place. However, when you're looking to get out of that, you have to understand core truths, because what you're really looking to do with financial freedom is you're really looking to inhabit a state of freedom, right? You look at the core root words. The words will tell you exactly what you're spelling, which is a spell, which is thought and speech. Mind and speech are the eternal guides of man. So that's how you create shit. Here and in the next life. You're going to think and you're going to speak and you're going to be you, okay? So just fucking accept that. Once you understand that what you're really after is a state, right? It's really liberating, because you understand that the state within which you dwell expresses itself, okay? Now, what you have to do is you have to deprogram yourself from what are called second causes, okay? So second cause is a belief structure and something outside of yourself to give you permission to be something. When you talk about financial freedom, the issue that you may have with financial freedom, I'm not saying this is you, but many people have this, including I had this as well, is you don't know how to be free, okay? You don't know how to go through your entire day and just dream, right? Because what happens? Oh, I'm in Cabo. It's so good. This is amazing. Oh my God, I'm in Cabo. Open my eyes, fucking bills. Oh shit, guess I can't go to Cabo. See what I'm saying? That external reality is a latent, because remember, time delay, latent externalization of what you have identified as from an identity standpoint and accepted as true about reality, okay? So when you have been being someone who's been in fear for 5 years, okay? That state you've been in has externalized itself. But the thing you have to understand is is that shit that outside of you doesn't have any power, because if you created it, do you think a potter gives a fuck about if he breaks a pot? No, a potter just makes another pot, right? So that's why it's important to understand what you are at your baseline as a creator. Now, understanding that you're a creator also gives you the ability to understand your creative mechanisms, okay? So your creative mechanisms start with your awareness as framing your identity. If I'm aware of how beautiful nature is all day, my identity is someone who's a nature enjoyer, just because that's what I do. They go, wow, that guy's a real nature enjoyer. He really enjoys nature, right? So when you think about financial freedom, what does a poor person do? A poor person is essentially operating on a scarcity wavelength, in a fear-based wavelength. So scarcity and fear are the two things that poor people are afraid of, right? Oh no, I don't have enough. Oh shit, this isn't going to be this, right? Oh God, fuck, ooh. Okay? So that energy expresses itself, right? This is at the beingness level, right? And this is predicated through what you identify and accept as true about reality, and then what you're aware of. Because the two faculties of a human are focusing and thinking. What you focus on, you create, and what you think, you become. So the best thing you can do is focus on thoughts of you being the version you want to be, having what you want to have right now, okay? Because if you think about the version of you that will have it in 10 years, then you're pushing it off into the future, and what you're really afraid of is inhabiting that state now. You have a fear of inhabiting that state now. Could be completely subconscious that you're not aware of, but that's essentially the crux of what's happening. Because as you look to your internal world for what you could call fulfillment, you delete your second causes, which are all in all cases tyrants, okay? I want to be financially free. What you're really saying is, I don't want this fucking fear-based limitation energy on me anymore. I don't want this constraint on me, okay? And you have made a God out of the money, saying this God can save me, okay? But it can't, because it's a state-based thing. That's why you see people with billions of dollars and they're like, I need more money, right? Or drug addicts be like, I need more heroin to feel good, right? You cannot have second causes. You cannot have second and tertiary gods, because they are always tyrants and they go against the natural law of your beingness, right? You're a creator, and the assignment of value on things is the basis of your power. Meaning that if you go and you have an experience, it's just an experience. You get to assign the value to that, not because there's a right or wrong arbitrary value to it, but because there's foundational truths. Unconditional love cannot have a condition on it. Unlimited expression of freedom cannot have a limitation on it. Your soul is in a body. Your body can die, your soul can't die. You go on after this, right? There's core truths that no matter how many different ways you dig it, that's the truth. You're always going to be fine. That's the truth, okay? On top of that are what are called perspective truths, okay? So if I'm on the top of the mountain and I look down, I go, that's a long way down. And then I'm at the bottom of the mountain, I look up, I go, that's a long way up. It's the same mountain, but two different truths about the mountain, okay? So when you are creating your reality, what you're really looking to do is you're looking to adopt perspectives that are exclusively in your favor for a selfish reason. The selfish reason is because if you are not living in the reality that you want to live in, you will infect everyone else's reality with the energy of not having or being what you want to do, i.e. a complainer, right? If you complain all the time, everything sucks, you'll see other people around you start to complain. So it's of the utmost imperative that you have the reality that you want, okay? So if you think of creation from subtle to gross, meaning that you have the notion that you're a creator, okay? Then you provide context of how you create in the environment that you're in, okay? The context would be, what I think I become and what I focus on, I create. I'm a creator, I think and I focus. So having those two things calibrated to me being the version right now that I want to be, in having the things that I have and doing the things that I want to do right now, would be what you could call your ideal, okay? So when you're thinking and you're focusing and it's off your ideal, that's what you could call a sin or a miss. You want to decrease all of the emotional negative context around that, because it's not like that. You could just call it hit or miss, okay? So your first game, if you want to treat reality as a game, which I highly encourage, because games are easy to master, right? You can master a game, but when it's life, you're going to master life, bigger deal, okay? So as you contextually think from just basic gameplay standpoint, right? I'm in this fucking game, dude. Okay? What are your first two things to be an effective gamer, effective game player, okay? You got to have the character that you want, and you got to have the ability to do what you want, and you got to have what you want to have. And you got to have that internally, because the context of how the game is created is from internal to external. Things are being pushed out of you. But you have to understand the reason that you may not get that right away is because the game was set up to wipe your memory and then put that time delay to make you doubt yourself chronically. Additionally, you have lies being poured into your awareness all the time. So you're playing a fucking hardcore game, but the basis of it is the same. Decide what I want, think as if I'm that person now, having what I want now, and understand that that will be pushed outwards, and understand that because there's a time delay, unlike in base reality, unlike if I were to die and go to heaven right now, I want grapes. Oh, grapes are everywhere. That's a heavenly state, right? You're not in a heavenly state. You're in a hell state, which can become heavenly, but a hell state has antagonistic factors to a heavenly state. One of them being, you don't get what you want immediately. You persist in that, right? Which, what does that do? It disciplines your focus, okay? So if you have a fear of focus or a fear of thinking, right, as if you are that person, you have to confront that fear. And the best way to do that is with its polar opposite energy, which is unconditional love, right? So bring it back to financial freedom. Poor person's always afraid of not having enough. This is going to happen. Just accepting that, without physicalized evidence, you're not going to have enough money because you had a fear-based feeling, right? What does rich person do? Rich person goes, no, I wouldn't even be aware of that because I already have the money. So what am I aware of right now? But then you have a gap of saying, well, shit, I can't think like this unless I have the money. Boom, you've immediately spotted a second cause tyrant in your awareness. See how that governs you and limits you? It is a limiting belief. A belief is a thought you think repeatedly without contradiction until it becomes solidified internally and externally. The reason that things seem externally solidified is because you've solidified them within your belief structure internally first. I can't change this. Look at this. No, look at this. Your thought process has no contradiction and or challenge to that belief structure. So what you begin to do is you begin to challenge those belief structures because you understand that the belief structure is what creates the reality, okay? So when you have that feeling of like, oh shit, I'm not gonna have enough money. Who decided that? Who decided that I'm not gonna have this, or I can't have this, or that this is this way? Who decided that? I decided that. So once you start to understand the depths of your power, you understand that every unwanted situation is in conclusion in agreement with you in reality. You've accepted that this is a reality. And the reason that that's a faulty way to think without contextual understanding is that when you have unlimited freedom without a limitation, right? If you are truly free, which is really what you're looking to do with the false god of money, you're looking to become free because that's your natural state, right? And you're right. This place has limitations and templates and all this shit to make you feel not free. You understand that through dimensional spacing, what I think I become and what I focus on, I create. Okay, so if I think I am this thing, I will turn into this thing. If I focus on this thing, I will create more of this thing. Okay, it's laws. It's always going to happen. So when I have unconditional expression of freedom, anything that pops up into my reality, whether that be a bill, whether that be a low bank statement, whether that be a fear feeling, whether that be a thought I don't like, whatever, I have to accept that in my reality for that to express itself. So what do you do when you are creating a new version of yourself? You challenge all of these things. You go, no, I'm someone who always has a large bank account. And then you get fucking another bill. No, I always have more than enough to pay my bills, right? And reality will try and dog your shit because you're new internally. You've made the decision, no, I'm free, right? The most important word of that is free, right? Financial is second. Financial is an aspect of freedom, right? But the reason that you have a need for financial freedom is because of the value structure that you placed upon it. If I said, the only way to be rich is to have a bunch of bags of concrete. I've got 700,000 bags of concrete. Look how rich I am. You'd be like, oh, sick, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you going to sell those? Right? The value tag that you put on things ascertains their value in relation to you. So when you want a lot of cash, do you think it's hard to have a lot of oxygen? It's fucking everywhere. You can have as much as you want. Okay. So that is a state of abundance. That is a chronic acceptance of abundance, okay? So you want to apply that same principle to the thing that you want from a power position while not making it a God. You want to keep your God source power as your God, right? What is the name of God? I am. Why? Because unconditional love, unconditional awareness, it's not conditioned. Now you condition it into what you want. I am wealthy. Yay. I am healthy. Yay. You condition that God energy by mind and speech and what you accept and think it as an identity and are aware of. It's really easy. You just master those two things. And then you can live in heaven on earth all day because now your internal engine of creation is calibrated to what you want because you're creating it internally for the sake of creating it. You're not doing it to change the external world because you know that the external world has to change in the same way that if I put on a red hat, I go look in the mirror is going to show me my red hat. So I'm just focused on putting on the red hat or the blue hat or the green hat, whatever hat I want, right? And I'm seeing myself doing it. Now, where you get tripped up is that time delay, right? Because this fuckery place, and it is fuckery, is trying to make you forget with the mirror. It's like putting on a red hat and then you go and look in the mirror and then 20 minutes later it reflects it and you're like, God damn, about time, right? So you have to understand that in the same way that if you're playing a video game and there's lag in the game where you shoot and then it like takes a second to shoot, it pisses you off, right? So how do you out navigate that thing? Well, you fucking atom bomb it with your thinking process, right? You go for a hyper generalized assumption about how reality works for you before you go into specifics. Your foundational reality is built on core truths. So you have, I'm a soul that can't die, that can create a physical body on the other side. You have to understand that through NDEs, through OBEs, or whatever. You have to fucking get that. The reason that you get that is because the root of all fears is based in death, okay? It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a money fear, if it's this fear, it's all based in death because death is the origin of fear itself. If I don't exist after this, then what the fuck is the point, right? You become nihilistic or whatever, okay? So you have to understand core truths. I'm a fucking soul dude or girl, and I'm in a fucking body like Iron Man or some shit, okay? How do I know? Well, when I'm in a dream, I can fucking get out of my dream. I can walk around, ooh, more grapes, right? And then you can take that even further if you go down that rabbit hole, but that's not for this video. You have to understand that you don't die when your body dies. Your body is a vehicle that your soul is in. You have to understand that. Because until you understand that, you're always going to be extremely vulnerable and susceptible to lies in this world. Because they say, oh, you need to do this and this and this. And you don't have any fucking foundation in truth, so you're just like, okay. So when you understand that, it's number one. Number two is unlimited expression of freedom cannot be unlimited with a limitation. You have to understand that you have the ability to outthink any issue. and you have the ability to persist. Oh, but I can't persist. Oh, but I'm doing this. Imagine a version of yourself that has already solved those things. Don't fucking focus on those things because they don't benefit you. They enslave you. That type of thinking enslaves you. It's making you its bitch. It's quite literally taking someone who has the power of God, right, to think and create and speak and create, and is subjugating you down to the level of a slave and saying, no, your place is down here. No, this is how it is. You have to obey this type of logic, right? So you can't allow those things to manipulate you in that way anymore, right? Because your true nature is not someone who is manipulatable, okay? So as you begin to understand contextually who you are, the environment that you're in, the situations and circumstances around you, the time delay, the externalization of your states of consciousness, can be a lot to grasp at first, but it is graspable in the same way that if I play a game and I see this motherfucker's always going to throw a kick when he gets to the 2-minute mark, I can block it every single time, right? So when you master reality, what you're doing is you're understanding the context of the world around you, your relationship to it, your actualized self in your body, and you're thinking and focusing reverberative effects on the external world and the internal world. Once you understand that, there's not really much to figure out because now you hear some shit and you're like, wait, what do I want to create with this? That sounds stupid. I'm going to imagine I have more, right? You just outthink it. You're a chess master now. You outmaneuver all of these different things because you're beast mode now. You're not slave mode. So as you begin to master those things, you understand that the contextual ideal scenario is an assumptive framework of reality working exclusively in your favor because that covers all things. Everything works out for me. I am the version of myself who has everything that he wants. I am the version of myself who actually manifests extremely easy. I am the version of myself who always has more than enough. I am able to have anything that I want. I have more than enough, right? So working on that base foundation will change your vibration at a foundational level to where that foundational level, in the same way, if you have scarcity or poverty consciousness as your foundational level, you could get the best business opportunity ever, and or you could get a ton of money and it will slip right out because your foundation is, I'm always poor. Even if you're not saying that with your now in the moment thoughts, your energy is expressing that. Your cellular makeup is expressing that, right? So you have to build strong chronic foundations of what you want to be. And this place is not the easiest place to do that because there's a time delay and you have to persist and you have to work on what's called faith. Faith isn't really a thing if you get everything that you want immediately. Faith is a aspect of this place, which is loyalty to that unseen reality and accepting an unseen reality as true before it manifests, right? Manifest means unseen to seen. So in this fucking place, you're dealing with a lot. So in this place, you're dealing with a lot more internal type of management than you would normally, right? You're much more aware of essentially how your, hold on, do I have this flip like this? Crazy. You're much more aware of how your internal environment is, right? You hyper focus in on your internal environment because that's being pushed outwards with the time delay. So ad nauseum, you focus on what you want, right? And then the way that you outthink that situation is that you create strong, generalized, assumptive frameworks of how life in general comes to you. My manifestations that I want come to me fast, right? I am someone who gets what they want fast. Everything is working for me perfectly. And then every single thing that happens, the cheat code is, you assign it a positive, perfect value. Oh, that's the perfect thing because that has to happen because I have what I want. So that's reflecting me have what I want, right? Even if it's the worst shit ever, you don't even know if that thing is happening to have a ripple effect on something else, which positions something else, which positions this. Now you have what you want because you're limited at this periphery. So when you think of the external reality, right? I want a car, okay? You want the car. Well, number one, somebody has to make the car. So there's, 1,000 people involved in coordinating with making the car. Somebody has to ship the car. Somebody has to put it on the showroom floor. Somebody has to get the car to you in the time that you want to get it. You have to have the money for the car. So the money has to be coordinated as well, right? It's a million fucking things going on. And you can't control the 1,000 factory workers who are going to build the car for you. You just want the car. So when you are managing your inner domain, your responsibility is not in the process of executing the things. Your job is to build internally the end state product, right? And the only way you can do that consciously is understanding that the universe is working for you. Even with this fuckery time delay and this fuckery of the memory forgetting, you are still a creator because you cannot change that. So no matter where you go, what you think you become and you focus, you create. It's never going to change ever, right? So knowing that this place has to respond to you, you just become the end product internally. I always have more than enough. I can do whatever I want. Now, where you have to take a jump as well is when you make an assumption, two words that come to mind are daring and bold, right? Because if you have $0 fucking bucks and you decide I'm financially free, first off, you have to decide, what does financial freedom mean to me? Well, it can start with a feeling of I always have more than enough. I guarantee you that's the basis of what you want. So what you really want to do is you want to iron out the feeling. You want to become a person who chronically feels like they have more than enough. Because if you have a chronic feeling of never having enough and you get $1 million, you go, fuck, man, I could really use 10 million. $1 million's not as much as it used to be. See what I'm saying? So your state precedes everything. You have to make your state super legit. I just shot that whole thing upside down. It's great, man. Love it. Who cares? Okay. So as you begin to master that internal domain, you are going to want to get a generalized state around you of having more than enough, of being what you want to be. You have this generalized attitude towards life, okay? That is your prized possession because you have infinite ability to customize your state, right? And your state is your state of being. Your state is your, dare I say, lifestyle. And so when you think of lifestyle, what you think of complementary to financial freedom, oh, once I have financial freedom, I'll have this great lifestyle. But there are also rich people who are fucking losers. So you don't want to be a loser. You want to be someone who's living their ideal lifestyle, okay? So when you live your ideal lifestyle, what you want to understand is that your ideal lifestyle is unique to you. And as you understand that what you build internally is expressed outwards, you're not building it because you're doing it out of survival. If you're building it because you need to build it, you're still in a state of survival, which means that it's not going to work out because you have an anticipation of things not working out, which means you still fear death, which means you still fear having an end to you, because if you're going to end permanently and you know that you need money to survive, then now you have to have money because it is the direct source of life for you. The more money you have, the more life you have, which is a massive distortion in your thinking. Your money is not the source of your life. Your life energy is not correlated to how much money you have. Your life energy is correlated to the capacity in which your soul embodies your physical body. In the same way, if I move out of a house, what happens to that house? That house is going to rot and decay and fucking fall apart. But if I'm in the house and I'm maintaining it, then the house is going to be super fucking nice, right? So the more soul that I have in my body, the more energy and abundance I have. So my primary concern is that if I'm going to live somewhere, which means I'm going to live in a body internally in this world, I'm going to chronically dwell in a state of consciousness or chronically be aware of a state of internal conditions, okay? Meaning that 24/7, 365 days per year, I'm going to be in this environment. This environment is going to be where I am at my station for this duration of this lifetime, okay? So before anything external, because I'm walking around with myself all day, every fucking day, if I don't make my internal world and my internal self fucking impeccable and really the way I want it, no matter the external condition, I will always be unhappy because I'm chronically living in shit. right? It's like walking around with wet socks on. You could have the nicest shoes in the world, but if your socks are wet, fuck those shoes. You don't want to even walk anywhere, right? So you have to get your inner engineering sub-dimension of the game on fucking point. And that is the realm of thought and emotion and identity. So as you begin to master that internal realm of I am, right? I am abundant. I am financially free. I am someone who always feels free. I am someone who always has more than enough. I am someone who can do whatever they fucking want to do because this universe responds to me as a creator. I am someone who can think and become something. I am someone who can focus and create. I have the powers to focus and create in this game. Yes, there are limitations. Yes, there are time delays. Yes, there are different aspects that I'm overcoming, but I am an unlimited being, meaning that anything that happens, I can immediately adopt a thought and or a focus as if I am the person who has solved it. And the only thing that will limit me from that is accepting this problem as unfixable or permanent, right? So as you begin to remove your value assignments from things being unfixable and or permanent, you depower them and you reinvigorate yourself. So as you begin to think as if you've already overcome it, you begin to feel as you've already overcome it, you begin to internally satisfy yourself with your internal state of consciousness, because the reason that you want something external is you have assigned a conscious state that you can only inhabit if this condition is met, which is conditional living, which is vulnerable living, because if that condition is taken away from you, you have created a mental substructure that you cannot inhabit that state, which is a lie, because you always have all states of consciousness available to you at all points in time. And in the same way that you inhabit your body, if you disinhabit your body doesn't do shit. So the only reason a state can exist is if you inhabit it. So if you're inhabiting a poverty state, that poverty state is driven by you. It is you in that state. And it's not to say that that's your fault, but it is to say that you are the energy source of all states. You are the source, right? So as you pull your energy out of that poverty state and go, that fucking sucked, whatever, you plug your battery into I am now in an abundant state. What is an abundant state? Well, if you've chronically dwelled in a poverty state for a long time, an abundant state is the complete fucking opposite of that, right? And it's also, in the same way that you had a poverty state, a naturalized state, meaning that it feels natural. If you've been poor all your life, it feels natural to be poor. Somebody who's been rich all their life feels natural to be rich. So what you're doing is you're basically taking your awareness and you're putting it on the version of yourself and saying, okay, if I was fucking super loaded all the time and I'd always been that way, what would I be aware of? And then you would realize that you're just aware of doing whatever you want to do and assuming that it's just going to get paid for, right? But if you don't have any money, you have no faith in that because you haven't been that person. So you need to practice being that person, being like, I always have more than enough. It's always going to get done. And if you don't, then you go, it doesn't fucking matter because my thoughts, I become that and I focus on what I create. So if I don't have something externally, I can always go to an internal version of myself because everything external is just a byproduct of whatever that internal state is. And it's always also transient. The only thing that's permanent is me being able to think and imagine. That's my eternal body, right? Which is good because my eternal body is the creation of all things, right? So if I want a bicycle and I think about bicycles, I go, actually, I want a purple bicycle, and then I start seeing purple bicycles. I see the actual constructed reality of this place start to reorient itself around what I'm doing internally, right? So when you really understand that, you're like, holy smokes, I can start to create whatever I want. But the thing is that you're disengaging all of what are called second causes or limiting beliefs, because as you have those, they are equally equipped to create reality with your desire, but they're antagonistic to it. So you're creating resistance simultaneously through your belief in two different things, which is called being double-minded. You want to be single-minded, right? So if you have two different things, I want a bicycle, but it's too expensive. Both are perspective truths. I'm at the mountaintop. Wow, look, it's a long way down. I'm at the mountain bottom. Wow, it's a long way up. It's the same mountain, two ways to look at it, right? So one of those has to go in order for the other one to have resistance free to where you can go to where you want to go. So when you say, I want a bicycle, but it's too much money, right? What you're doing is you're creating two gods that are fighting with each other. So you have to let one die. I always get what I want and I have a purple bicycle. I always have what I want and I have a purple bicycle. I always have what I want and I have a purple bicycle. Isn't it so fun to ride my purple bicycle? I always have what I want, right? And you see, you take the money out of it, not because that the money's not going to be a component of it. Someone could just fucking give you a purple bicycle. You don't know that, but you have a contextual framework of everything costs money, so there's no other way to get it unless you have the money. So now you have a god that doesn't serve you and rules over you. So if you just go, I always have a purple bicycle, there's a million different ways that bicycle could come to you, but you're hyper-focused with blinders on, I have to have the money, I have to have this condition met before you can inhabit the state, which means that you're not inhabiting the state, which means you're in a state of not having, which means that that's continually getting pushed out and expressed. So you got to just think directly as a single-minded individual, not give a fuck about how it happens, because you understand in the same way, if you're thinking about purple bicycles and you're walking around and your reticular activating system is programmed to see a bunch of, you never noticed purple bicycles, but now you're noticing purple bicycles all of the time, you understand that the reality is responding to you. And once you understand that the reality is responding to you, you understand that you can perfect what is considered your output signal, right? So you're really just perfecting your output signal, because you understand that like a mirror is always going to show you your reflection. You're not trying to make the mirror work. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I put on my red hat, I can't wait to see myself in the mirror. I hope the mirror has all the particles in order. I need to make sure that the mirror is working properly. I need to make sure that the mirror, no, you just know the fucking mirror is going to reflect your shit. So like, just work on your output signal. And as you work on your output signal, you begin to get better at outputting your signal the way that you want it to be, which is thinking and focusing on what you want to have and or be as if it is now, right? And that lexicon of that game gives you a framework to either binarily think, I am thinking correctly, or I'm thinking that I don't have this thing, which is a correct thought if I want to be the person who doesn't have this thing. But I've decided that I want to be the person who has this thing, so I cannot think this way, because those two things are going to contradict each other and create resistance, okay? So you just go, nope, that's not me. I don't accept that. That's not my reality. Nope, that's not me. As many times as you fucking need to. Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. Nope, that's not me. Nope, 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 nope. Like you're fucking cleaning yourself. Like you have mud on your body and you're like, nope, this fucking mud is off. I'm tired of being muddy. Nope, get this fucking mud off me. Nope, 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 I'm clean. And you just clean it over and over and over again. Then you reorient back to, I am so happy and grateful now that I always have more than enough. Oh, look, I have it right now. Boom, in my mind. I'm having the experience. Boom, I'm having the experience. Boom, I'm having the experience. And as you begin to dominate that little mental loop of the game, you get the core mechanical structure of how you operate your internal environment, and you get really good at it in terms of like a little micro game. And then you understand that because you're doing this, you're now disengaging all of these second conditions, and you actually are living the life that you want to live internally. And then you put that energy and intention into amplifying and increasing the quality of the internal life that you're having, and creating that in better and better ways, as opposed to creating more and more limitation. Well, oh no, I have this money, but what if somebody fucking steals it, right? That's where unconditional love comes in, because it is the antithesis of fear. So if you have something, but you have fear attached to it, that fear is going to expound and get crazy. So you have unconditional love, authenticity, and integrity as your core frequencies, right? You just affirm that, you feel into that, you make sure you're in that energy. Then when you create from that, no fear can come into that. So you're good. You can perpetually build, right? If unconditional love sustains and creates all things, fear comes in and destroys it. So you want to destroy that, right? So that's all I got for you guys today. I apologize that the video flipped a little bit at the mark. I'll try and fix it, but if I didn't, just flip your phone. You're going to be fine. So Linktree has all the coaching as well. If you guys want to go to the Linktree, you can get the coaching for the protocols and or the coaching. Additionally, there is nothing more important than going out there and conquering. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.